What was the next match?
Well, I'll tell you what the next match was, Brian. It was Hell in a Cell. And boy, it was hell. They were snake bit this night. When have you seen two inadvertent injuries come within, 20 minutes of each other? Not even?
In WWE, not often.
Yeah, depending on how long the fucking entrances took. It was Edge and Finn Balor, and they did the big entrances, and Finn came out as the demon. And boy, they go overboard now. They got a budget on these entrances. Now, very theatrical, blah, blah, blah. But it's a Hell in a Cell match. So they start out trading a couple of punches, and then they both just jump out of the ring, not connected to each other, not fighting. They jump out of the ring and both go under the ring and start pulling out weapons. In the first minute, they got a hat on a hat. And whether it's kendo sticks or a chair. And then apparently now the demon was before we started reviewing for the most part. I remember seeing clips, a little bit of him. But now when he paints his face, he doesn't sell chair shots. Is that the MO here? He's invulnerable because of his face paint.
I haven't seen the face paint thing in a while, but when he first came out on the entranceway, and they're making a big deal out of him being the demon, I wanted to really pay attention to it. And again, I lost it. I'm coming out of the Shane McMahon segment, which made me cry with laughter. And it appears one of the things the demon does is just stick his tongue out. So, he's on the entrance trying to be like this evil demon. He's just sticking his tongue out. It looks ridiculous. Not like in an evil, I'm a demon way, but like, I'm a little kid and I'm mad at you way. If he's the demon, he is impervious to pain, except when he starts feeling pain.
Except when he feels pain.
Yes.
So half the match at the start was guys going out to get other gimmicks out from under the ring, and Edge did a deal where he put Balor in the corner of the cage and wedged him in with kendo sticks through the link of the chain link of the fence. So and then he would go and get more gimmicks like that. A guy couldn't just take and goddamn remove those. Help me, Brian. He was not immobilized in a way that you could, like if this was a Western and you were robbing the bank, he wasn't tied up like the school marm to where she couldn't get out and warn the sheriff. He was just standing there in the corner of the cage with two kendo sticks in front of him to keep him in.
And he responded like any of us would by sticking out his tongue and making faces.
So then Edge pulled out a table and leaned it up in the corner. And now I said they hadn't been in the ring since first 30 seconds at this point. Now they got back in the ring and got right back out. And Finn drop kicked Edge through the table and pulled out another chair and another chair and another chair and was throwing him and hitting Edge in the head with him. And I was losing my patience. And then they got in the ring. Edge did 2 moves, got a 2 count. They went back to the floor and pulled out a ladder. And then Edge came in and threw the ladder at Finn Balor and hit him in the head. And he sold that one and went down, and immediately there was a pool of blood forming. And then the referee starts holding Edge off, and the camera gets a close-up of Edge, and the people start booing because the referee is holding Edge from attacking his opponent in a Hell in a Cell match with no DQ and a blah, blah, blah. And I saw a bunch of people on Twitter, how dare they stop it? They didn't stop the whole match, folks. Don't panic now. But how dare they halt the match for blood? It's Hell in a Cell. Well, if you saw the picture of Finn Balor's head afterwards, it was a giant fucking gash.
Well, he threw the ladder right at his head. The way it hit him, perfect.
And he got his hands up, fortunately. They just went through the fucking ladder and the rung of it hit him in the head. But so now what they do is they won't show any of Finn on camera whatsoever. So they've got a close-up of Edge. And the announcers are calling it, but it's off-putting because it's just a close-up of Edge staring there and you can't see what's going on. Then Edge goes out and pulls out more weapons because he knows the camera's on him, and at least he's giving people something to look at.
And they'll pop for it.
And they popped for it. But this is the thing. Apparently, from what I'm told from people in the building, they gave Balor a quick shot, a numbing shot, and stapled his head up so he could continue because it's WrestleMania.
That's what I heard.
However, and I'm fully in favor of that, that they should treat, because that was a bad cut, right? However, could they not? This is what I would have said if I was at the gorilla position to the announcers and the ring announcer. I would have told the ring announcer, go to the referee and say what I tell you to say. Ladies and gentlemen, the referee is momentarily halting this contest because of the depth of the cut on Finn Balor's head. If the doctor rules that Balor cannot continue, Edge will be the winner. Everybody will boo, right? Because you don't know what's going to go on yet, but everybody's still going to boo because that's what's going to happen if this guy got to get carried out to the hospital. Edge will be declared the winner, and we'll have another fucked up match. But if not, if he can go on, then it gives the guy, or it gives the people a pop when the guy says, I can continue. So then get a long shot, get a wide shot from up in the stands. They're in a stadium. They could be so far back you couldn't fucking see them with a telescope. But don't deliberately do close-ups and not shoot what the announcers are talking about. It was off-putting, the whole thing. And then once they got Balor closed up, then the ring announcer can tell the people, ladies and gentlemen, Balor insists on continuing against doctor's orders, and the match will go on. Yay! And then they continue. But instead, did you see it as being that odd, and people at home had to be going, what the fuck is this? Even though they knew what the fuck was going on, why are they shooting it that way?
I mean, WWE did as good a job as they could to ignore it and pretend it wasn't there, but it was there. And, Edge eventually, like I said, got pops for getting out other things that he could use in the match. There aren't a lot of wrestling people there with instincts who would jump in there and say what you just said.
But it would have not only told the people at home
maybe
something.
If Snoop Dogg was at ringside, we'd have someone there.
Snoop Dogg, yeah. Me and Snoop Dogg think a lot alike from what I've heard. But it would have told the people at home and the people in the building, and it would have, when you think about it, with what happened, that he was able to continue, and they did do at least much of the rest of what they had originally been going to do, you could have actually booked that spot. But it would have been a shoot. That's fucking wrestling. You can't really... Was that supposed to happen? Well, it worked out okay. And we're at the back going... Anyway, finally, the demon continues. They went into false finishes at 100 miles an hour. Finn got a 2 count with a double stomp, tried to come off the ladder, but Edge stopped him and DDT'd him off the ladder for a 2 count. And I'm like, okay, now... A DDT off the fucking ladder is a 2 count now after the guy's already had his head closed back up.
You see, that's the thing. That's the only thing that did bother me, just because eventually you couldn't completely ignore the fact that he clearly was really badly hurt on that ladder shot. They showed you the ladder shot several times. It was brutal. But then he shouldn't be selling things to his face anymore.
Well, it's the same point. Do you have to do all that shit to a guy that's already got his head stapled back together? And it just got ridiculous. And again, then they did another deal where Finn went for the stomp off the cage through a table, but Edge moves and he stomps through the table and Edge spears him and gets a 2 count. Jesus Christ. Because they had to finish the story by Edge giving him the concerto. And then his head really should have been caved in. They got given a gift in that they had a bad incident turn into a positive and that they could continue. Did they still have to, after the guy's already bled buckets and maybe he's a little bit weaker now, maybe that's his out, maybe that's the demon's excuse for winning or for losing, is that, he was injured early on in the contest, so it didn't take a goddamn Paul Bunyan swing with a metal chair while the guy's head is laying on another chair to beat him. They called one audible. They could have called another one. I don't know. But this was, again, the Hell in a Cell doesn't need kendo sticks and chairs and tables and fucking Zabada, because then it's chaos and it's a mess and it's a stunt show instead of the best story that they told in retrospect in the match was the one that they didn't plan. Go ahead.
Not much I can add to it. I've not been a fan of Edge on this run. And I'm not a big fan of just nonstop weapons. I mean, it's Hell in a Cell, and they went right to the weapons. I did get into it a bit after Finn Balor got hurt. There's something about a guy legitimately getting hurt.
Yeah.
And wondering what's going to happen next. And then they just ran through all the spots they were going to do anyway. All right for what it was, but I just haven't really dug the Edge stuff. The Judgment Day to me is all about Rhea and Dom and Priest. I have not liked the Balor Edge feud.
And I liked Edge when he came back, and I like a lot of what Edge does, but this hasn't. And again, he's still in his matches. He's doing a lot of weapons. And you would have thought maybe he might have figured out about them ladders, but nevertheless.